All right, welcome everyone to another week of Blueprint for Peak Performance. Ask Me Anything. I'm Brandy Smith. I'm the founder of Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training. Um, I'm also the founder of Perfect 10 PT Academy online courses for parents, coaches, and athletes. I'm excited to have you guys here every week. We're here every Wednesday, 12 to 1 Central Standard Time. And we cover everything performance related. So sometimes we have people come in, sometimes we have open sessions like we have today. So for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. Those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a former collegiate gymnast on 2 national championship teams there in college, and I'm a physical therapist and performance coach. I work with athletes from recreational all the way down to 3 months old in our baby program, our Born to Move baby program, all the way up to Olympic level, world teams, Olympic teams as well, and college athletes. So everything in between. Um, I'm kind of a out of the box physical therapist in that we look at the whole athlete, mind, body, spirit, emotions, nutrition, all the different things that come into play into being the best version of ourselves and learning the most we can and gaining the most we can from our experiences through sport, especially gymnastics. So welcome everyone. This week is an open session, so we are answering questions and talking about whatever everybody wants to talk about. So um, level 10 nationals, I think everyone has wrapped up. Boys level 10 nationals was this last week. Was girls level 10? Yeah, girls level 10 nationals was also this last week. And yeah, I got a bunch of videos and stuff from people. So I think we've wrapped up the season. Other than, how is Excel? Is Excel regionals like the final one coming up? Are we still have those, are those guys still going like a few more weeks?
Region 3 is done.
Region 3 is done. Okay, thanks, Brian. Yeah, so I don't know. There might be a few Excel stragglers a week or two from now across the country, but we're pretty much wrapping up meet season, which has been like a go, go, go time. So, um, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm open to whatever. Like, what's going on in y'all's world?
Too much extracurricular stuff.
Too much extracurricular stuff. So explain.
Uh, every school has 5,032 different things going on and programs and rehearsals and concerts and track days and field trips and graduations and
Yeah,
like having you can't even the kids can't even come in the gym because there's so much going on the outside that you can't schedule anything.
yeah, yeah. It makes sense. I get it. Question, if you have enough of them, do you guys take, so some gyms take a week off. We have a couple gyms here in Austin that actually like shut down for a week, usually the first week in the summer or something. Um, Brian, do you guys do that at your gym? Do y'all do like a shutdown for everyone or because
No, I've
coaches
been trying to convince the owner to for years. I'm like, can't we just shut down for a week? No, we must have classes. Oh,
well, because I'm thinking like maybe that shutdown should happen the last week of school, the last 2 weeks of school, right? Because it's like I don't know, but maybe parents don't want that because they want to take a vacation. But it is kind of this idea that like if you look at it, so the kids that are showing up to gym, Brienne, how are they? We've got all this stuff going on in their world. How are they showing up? What does it look like?
the older kids, they just want to lay on a mat.
Yeah.
Like they come in and that's great, but it takes you half a rotation to convince them to stand up and do something.
Yeah. Okay. So have you ever been there before? Are you there right now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Say it again.
I totally get where they're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. My cousin, I was laughing so hard. It was yesterday. My cousin is a teacher and she specializes in special needs kids. And so she's in the public school, and public school special needs teachers have like so much paperwork, so much paperwork. And And she's been doing all these things or whatever and all this stuff. And she's got this extra testing she has to get done for herself for her certifications before summer. Like it's all these things. And she sent me this Instagram video, and it was this guy. He's probably like he's bearded, and he's like in his late 40s, early 50s, or somewhere in there. And he gets out of his Hummer or his Jeep or whatever it was, and he's like, looks at the camera, and goes, "We have another meltdown today. I'm sorry we're late. She just didn't want to get out of bed, and then she couldn't get her hair fixed, and then." Everything was the whole whatever. And he goes into this spill and then he says, "It's just another meltdown. Just give me a moment. Let me get her out of the car." And he opens the door and he picks up his wife, who's a teacher. And she's hugged on him and she's got her head laid down. And he's like, "Let's just get her into the school so she can teach. I know if I can just get her feet going, she'll be all, I get her on her feet in there, she'll get going." And then he's like, What was that? Oh, you want me to put her down? No, if I put her down, I don't think she's going in. She's not gonna go in." And it was making me laugh so hard. And so my cousin was like, "Do you think my husband will carry me into the school on Monday?" And me and my aunt were both like, "Yeah, probably not." But that's how we're all feeling at this time of year, Brian.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody. Because, like teachers have been teaching and they're at the end. Like it's that when you've done something for a long period, August to now, you know, like it's that last final push, right? And we always, as humans that we always have this like, I got to get this one more thing done, or we didn't finish this, or it's like that idea that we as humans, sorry guys, our nervous system and our brain, we talked about this. I think it was last time I talked. Last week we were canceled for those of you that missed because I was had no voice last week. Um, but they we want completion, right? Like our nervous systems need completion. And so part of one of the push, 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 go, go, goes is that we didn't get this thing done. We didn't do this. I haven't done this yet. And all of a sudden, we're trying to cram it into this space instead of somehow prioritizing and first going inward and saying, why do we have to get this done? Is this detrimental to the kids moving into the next grade? Right? Did we cover it enough? Like, can we just call it good? Um, or maybe we can't. We have to get it done. But how can we do it and not be rushed or panicked about it? How can we do it? Can we downsize to something so that it's like more manageable, right? And when the nervous system is elevated, like it is right now at the end of school and the end of season and everything, um, everything feels like a priority. Tell me if this rings true, Brienne, and also Carla, and then Megan, you just popped in. So, but like, tell me if this rings true. Like, as we're getting to the end of the push, and this happens for coaches usually at the end of the season, right before the like big last meet. You have to really watch yourselves. And this is what's happening with the teachers right now. Is it's like everything's a priority. Everything has to get done. It's now or never, do or die, figure it out, like make it happen. And that might not be true. Have you experienced that, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's human nature. So I think part of it, I do this, by the way, and I have to do like a gut check or like a reality check periodically. Sometimes it's after the fact, unfortunately. Um, but it's like this idea that like, wait, reality check. What really needs to be happen? Like I love when okay, my daughter. So in state of Texas, they have standardized testing called STAR. And other states they have other names for it, but it's the standardized testing, right? And they did a practice STAR math test the Friday before the Monday STAR test, and I thought to myself, why? Like, why are we taking the same test, like a practice of it, right before, like the day before, the school day before, for a test that we're taking on Monday? whatever she learned, like, I even remember studying for my board exams. That was the biggest exam I've ever taken and the most stress because everything wrote on it. I was on a temporary license. If you don't pass, you could lose your job. I already had a car, already had a house. Like I was like, there was a whole lot riding on it. And every therapist I know will tell you because it's like a cumulative and it's like a make or breaker situation. Can you retake it? Sure. But you can only practice if you fail it, you lose your temporary license. So that's a big deal. But I remember like we were taking practice tests, right? I was part of my studying was taking practice tests and learning how to take a test. Like that's part of test standardized testing. It's a skill. But I wasn't taking tests. Like I remember, I think the last practice test based on like what we decided was like maybe a week or two before. And at that point, it was like, let me just study the things I know I'm really struggling with, or that we didn't cover a lot in my fellowship, or my not my fellowship, in my PT, because some things got covered better than others, some things absorbed better than others. So it was just studying your weaknesses and then like a quick reminder of other things. And that's kind of wise, right? But we also kind of do that in the world of gymnastics, right? Where it's like the day before a meet or the week before the meet, we're like, more routines, cold set, and I want you to do this, like, like, and it's like, do we really, is it better for our alarm systems to keep rising before the big end, right? Or is it better to find a sense of confidence and stability and not keep pushing it? And so what's happening, and the reason I say this is because this was definitely and branding, I'd love to hear, but like, have you found yourself doing that? Like right before season, right before that last meet, you're like, more routines, cold sets, like, like let's hit it really hard versus like kind of taking it easy.
I think when I was younger, I used to,
Hmm.
but now it's more get in a routine, get done what you need to get done, and then let's do some other stuff.
Yeah. Let's do some fun stuff. Let's do some like chill stuff, right? Do some no-brainer stuff. I had a really high level athlete who was on world team for a while, a couple times, several times. And one of the best nationals that he won, um, he took it easy. Like he just went in and did basics because he just needed to move his body and stay calm. Um, so, anyways, that being said, when we have this period where gymnastics has just ended, so you have to think about your kids' nervous systems, right? Gymnastics season has just ended. They've been up here. And now they went from that straight into all the rushing and going and the pushing that's happening at school right now with extra, like you said, extracurriculars. Like they've got to stay after school so they can do the band practice. They have to stay after school for this thing. Then they have this concert. Then they have this other thing. And they're running around like frantically because the school has created this schedule and every single teacher has done this, right? It's not like it's just one piece. Um, so now their alarm system is up here and they've been riding that wave up here for how many weeks now with no downtime. So they're coming in the gym like laying on the 8 incher going, not moving, not moving, right? So it makes complete sense, Brian. And I understand the frustration as a coach. So this is where I think being creative is a great idea. The first thing is drawing some awareness to the athletes, like saying something like, how are you feeling today? You know, my daughter used to do this like in first grade, second grade, where they did the thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. And then they had like faces that they would pick from. I mean, you could get that simple depending on what age you're in. But like with the older kids, like, how are you feeling? And they go, I don't know, because that's what they're going to say. Go ahead, Brian. I saw you unmuted. Go ahead.
Every day, our kids fill out a journal and before practice, and one of the things they fill in is on a scale of 1 to 10, um, what is your mental readiness score and your physical readiness score? Because when you look at that, then you're like, oh, we have a 2 and a 3. Okay, well, that's what we're dealing with today. Probably should not try dangerous things.
Right. Today is not a beam flight day or learning a flick lay for the first time.
Right. Or you look at them and like, why is your brain at a 2? Help
Yeah.
me.
Well, we know why. And
Yeah.
if they don't know why, you can help them know why. And I think so the first thing is normalizing it, right? So I love that you're doing that, by the way. I love the journals. I love that check-in. It's great. And if you wanted to add an emotional score in there, that's also helpful. Because their emotions might be all over the place too. Um, but like an emotional readiness score. I like that, the mental readiness and the physical readiness. But that would one would be another addition would be emotional readiness. And what you're doing is drawing their awareness, like at the beginning of practice, you're drawing their awareness to like, how am I? Because when they come in and all this stuff's going on, they're like, my friend did this and the teacher is blah blah blah. And they're like, and mom is, because mom is frantic because mom's trying to run the kids all across town while still doing whatever her normal work is, So we were just talking about this because we have something tonight. And I have several moms we're meeting, and she was just saying, like, I couldn't even remember. I'm so glad you text. I was like, yeah, glad I text too. So that being said, one piece when you do this like mental readiness score, emotional readiness score, physical readiness score, you're drawing their attention to their awareness of who they are and what they are today at this very moment. And then over time, you're drawing the attention that that can change, which is important because there are periods, especially in teenage years, where hormones are dumping and et cetera. And there are stretch of time where there are certain things that may not feel good, whether it's their body or their mind or their emotions. Or they have a breakup with a friend or a boyfriend or whatever, like there could be a period where things are like kind of in the low end. And it's important to be able to remind them back, hey, flip back. You actually can be here, but also look, 2 days before that you were here and then you came here. It's a way of kind of actually scientifically showing, right? Like that you're in a constant state of fluctuation and that just honoring the moment that today this is where you are, right? So one is this is a great learning experience, Brianne, and you're helping teach them for life because this will happen. Like it's happening to you as an adult, it's happening to me as a parent right now. Like it's that ability for them to do an internal self-check and be aware of where they are. And then recognize, so then if I'm in this state, um, I need to honor that. And it's a really great thing if we as a gym can also honor that. That creates a culture of safety, which in the long term, today may not mean a lot of gymnastics, but in the long term, creating that sense of safety is going to pay off 10, 20, 100 fold. Because if they feel safe in honoring their mind and their emotions and their body, and they begin this dialogue with you, and we'll talk a few more questions you can ask after they do that, right? But like all this sudden, the dynamic shifts to a working, cooperative relationship towards a goal. And we know that autonomy creates best performance by far. There's a ton of research on that and autonomy. And what I mean by autonomy is giving them choice, giving them some selection stuff, right? And so, but you can't have autonomy if I don't have, so like you can't have valued autonomy that's going to be quality, where I can make a quality choice if I first don't have awareness of what I'm showing up as. And so I love that you're doing that because you're starting step one with awareness for them, like, hey, my body is in this state. The next question I would have for them, and maybe you do this, you have to let me know, Brianne, would be based on that, what is a good goal today? What's a good intention for today? And one piece to that might also be, is there something I can do to fill those cups? Right. So there's ways to look at it like I have a mental cup and a physical cup and an emotional cup, and they're pretty empty because season's done and my teachers are driving me nuts and we've got 20 things to go to every day. Is there something that they know how to do to fill their cup quite of quickly and help regulate? We can talk about that in a second if you like some ideas. But like, is there something I can do right now that would help that? Or are the cups how they are? Last week, super sick. I mean, like this virus kicked me out for like 10 days. And um, there was no moving the mark. I had to honor it, which meant I canceled things I don't like to cancel. I slept 11 to 12 hours. I ate the same thing for several days, bone broth, like whole chicken, chicken soup with this really good vegetables and stuff, some things I needed for my body, right? And I ate those for several meals because it was good for my body and it felt good. So I had to honor that, right? So what does that look like now for the kids? So go ahead, come on in, Brienne. I saw you had unmuted. Sorry, I was in the middle of the statement.
No, you're fine. Yeah, one of the other things we ask them is what their intentions are for the day. So they have to give you something that they want their mind to be able to do, something they want to be able to feel that day, and something that they want to physically do that day.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they're like, I just want to be here and be happy for a few minutes.
So the next question is so one piece of that is what fills your cup? What brings you happiness? So do you
Mhm.
follow up with, okay, well, how are we going to find happiness today? What would bring you happiness in the gym today? Do you follow up with that question?
Yeah, when I do it, I do. I'm like, okay, so what would make you happy today? And a lot of times I get, can we skip conditioning? And I'm like, no, because I love you. Next.
Yeah. I mean, they can skip conditioning if they're physically exhausted, or you could change conditioning, right?
Right.
Like, because you're right. Like, you can't just keep skipping condition to be happy, right? Like, that's not going to get you towards your other goal. So, you do love them and you want to get them towards their other goal, which means you do have to condition, right? But there might be times when conditioning is not helpful,
Right.
right? So, if their physical is really in the tank and we just finished season, what if we didn't condition that week and we just did a bunch of fun, crazy movement games? And they're racing around thinking they're having fun, but in reality, they're moving.
Yeah, they wanted to dance the one day. And I'm like, great, let's dance.
Yeah, I
They
love
decided that they would rather do conditioning because the line dancing was harder.
exactly.
And
Put
there
on
was another
Footloose.
day, what did we do? I think it was the cha-cha slide with loop bands around their legs.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
That was much harder than what they were going to do initially, too. So they're like, maybe we shouldn't ask for alternatives.
Well, I mean, so even like, so put on Footloose and watch the video, right, for the line dance that goes with Footloose. By the time that song's done, you have done cardio. It
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, it is a long song. I was at a wedding recently and I was like, holy crap. Because my daughter had not done the Footloose dance, and me and my cousin were like, let's go teach her. And then halfway through, I was like, dear God, how long is this song? But it was like, it was a great workout, right? But it was fun and it was different. Um, so I love it. I mean, they could have loop bands on, but maybe halfway through they're dying and you throw the loop bands off and they still have to keep dancing. Like, you know, um, I love it. That's awesome. So one of the things that I would also ask them though is, especially when they're like down right now, would be what brings you joy, right? Like if you have a kid that comes in and their emotional score rating, their cup, their emotional tank is like really low or empty. Um, what can we do that brings you joy? And often they don't know what brings them joy. So I have a whole activity in, I guess it's in my advanced championship mindset, that we go through and we have them identify what are all the things that bring them joy. Like those things that, like, when you think about it, you have to smile, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I absolutely love listening to music, right? Or painting. Um, and I have like, some other things that I like put on that list. And what's really cool is that when they draw, I have them draw their cup of joy. Everybody has a cup of joy. I help them find it. I think we've done it before. Brianne, have you been in here when we've done it before? I think we've done it in this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I take you through a little meditation and then we find their cup of joy and then they draw it and everyone draws a different cup of joy. It's so fun to do. And then we fill the cup. What do we fill the cup with? And they have actual mental images of what their cup looks like. Like mine's always this like golden chalice with these like different gemstones and stuff on it, and I fill it with this like sparkly, like golden, rainbowy, translucent like liquid that's like kind of thick. So it's viscous like type liquid. It's not just water. And then I have other people that like a solo cup and they fill it with ice. And then I have another kid who like loved like one of those Sunday cups. And the old timey milkshake type cups, and filled it with rainbows, right? And another one was like he tree bark like type mug and filled it with leaves. And everybody fills it with different something different. And so we go through that whole process of finding their cup, and then what they fill it with, what does it look like, how full is their cup right now, and then I ask them, what are the things that fill your cup? Like not just like the metaphorical, like what you see when you're putting it in, but like what are those things? And it's like being with friends, being with my dog, painting, music, drawing, writing, um, making bread with my mom because a quality time thing usually, walking the dog with my dad, family game night, movie night, what all is it, right? And so what's really cool, and we did this before on one of our other lives, so you can go to our YouTube if you want to see the whole spiel where I take you through it. It's the cup of joy. So anyways, what was really cool is that we know that if you close your eyes, you can actually visualize yourself doing these things that bring you joy and get the same neurochemical dump. So you can take a kid who comes in, let's say with low emotional, they're a low emotional tank, right? And they can do their cup of joy and bring it up 20, 30, 50%. Depends on the kid and depends on what they do. And if there's something they can physically do right then that brings them joy, like dancing around or listening to music or whatever, then that increases it even more, right? So when you have those low emotional ones, is there something we can do right now to help build that so that you're starting a little fuller? But if they're physically low, that's much harder because it's like, okay, they're physically low because they haven't had enough sleep, they've been running on empty, they don't have enough fuel from the nutrition, or they've been training and they've been going. The adrenaline has been so high for season and now they're tanking. And you really have to honor that, like honor that. And this might be a time for that. Go on, Brianne. I saw you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just thought maybe, but so this is definitely something you can like play with. And what might be cool is if everyone is low and everyone is having a hard time, how can we honor that together as a team? And like, and this works, well, the older kids will have better answers. The younger kids are going to have to guide them. But it's like, hey, we need to get our cardio up. I don't really care how we get our cardio up. Do you guys want to, how many people would like to dance? How many people would like to have a free dance, right? Where every so often I'm going to call out a name and everybody follows you and you all get to be a leader, right? And there's going to be a group of those kids that love to be a leader, and there's going to be a group of them that panic. So if they panic, then maybe they don't have to be a leader, right? You don't have to be a leader. And then if you have a group of kids that none of them want to be a leader, then they follow along you and you have fun, right? Or you get a video and have fun. Maybe it's just random. Let's do Tae Bo because it's funny. Let's go put on a Jane Fonda video because, whoa, these kids are going to be like, who is that? And like, nope, you're going to do what she's doing, right? Let's do some step aerobics. Let's do, there are so many ways to do cardio. And this time of season, when the kids are exhausted and when they've been on this high adrenaline high, we've got to find places for them to have fun and joy and move their bodies. Because in reality, what we want to do physiologically is move out all those neurochemicals that have been dumping. And while we're moving out the chemicals that are dumping, we kind of want to turn off the valve, right? The valve in the brain that's been turned on, rushing all the adrenaline and cortisol, meets, scores, places, traveling, all the things, fear of letting everyone down, like everything that every kid feels. It's not new. It's not one person either. But it's like, how do we turn that valve down? Well, the best way to turn the valve down is with fun, joy, and gratitude. Those three things, having fun, laughing is another piece. They all hit neurochemicals in a different way, but fun, laughing, having joy, and what was the other one I just said? Fun, laughing, joy, gratitude, right? So bringing in gratitude. So maybe before we start, okay, I know it's been a tough time, but tell me one thing you're grateful for today. One thing you're grateful for. Because we know just finding gratitude, or you could do it at each event. What are we grateful for on Beam today? What are we grateful for on Vault today? I am grateful for that 8-incher. Great. Are you really? And it's like, yeah, I'm so happy that 8-incher is there and I get to have it today. I'm so grateful for the fat pads. I'm so grateful for, the feeling of the beam. I like to bring them back to feelings if possible, like the presence. So it's like, I really like the feeling of the leather of the beam. One of the other things I love and I'm grateful for and actually does fill my cup is the sound of the beam. When you do a switch, there is a hit on the beam that you know you've done a switch. I can close my eyes, I know that's what's happening. Switch or switch side. Switch side sounds different when you do the landing, but it's like you can hear it. And so if you draw their attention towards some of their senses, what do you feel like? Oh, I love the feeling of chalk on my hands or the smell of the gym, right? Like bring them into what are some things they can be grateful for and what are some things that they love about today. And so doing that's just going to turn on the brain. And then the next piece is the physical piece, which is actually moving all the adrenaline and cortisol out while having fun and joy and laughing. So if you can do those three things together, fun, joy, and laughing, right? While you're doing something that's moving, even if you're pushing mats, like one thing that happens with the adrenaline dump is, there's a lion in the room. The lion was competition season. The lion is continuing because it's all the 1,000 things they're having to do for school. And they just haven't gotten a break. And they want a break. They're just crying for a break. And so what can we do with them in the gym that's going to get you forward progress? Because in reality, pushing numbers, pushing upgrades, even that's not going to get you long-term longevity. It's actually going to just keep the alarm system elevated. And then when they don't have downtime, they're not going to regulate. Then they're learning how to stay unregulated in the gym. So it's like you get what you train, right? Nerves that fire together wire together. If I fire together a bunch of adrenaline, a bunch of cortisol, and a bunch of fight or flight response while in the gym, that's what we're training. And that's what we'll get moving forward. And every time we do that, we're just reinforcing it. So how can we be regulated and have fun in gym? Because if you think about it, like the back to Pavlovian's law with the dog, the food, the bell, etc., we want the bell in gym to be connected to fun, movement, success, joy, challenges that they like, right? Like the more you can hook joy and gratitude and happiness and laughing with what you're doing in the gym, the better your longevity and the better overall health, mental, emotional, physical health that your athletes will have. So one thing to look at is giving them some autonomy and say, okay, it looks like all of you guys are below a 5 physically and emotionally you're all at like a 3. Or mentally you're all at like a 3, totally zonked out. What's our intention for today? Like we're here, we have the time. What is our intention? Well, I still want to make forward progress, or I want to have fun today, or I just want to like get a break. Okay, how can we take all of those intentions as a team and make some forward progress? How about a fun warm-up activity that you guys haven't ever done? Let's laugh about it. And that's what I said, get Jane Fonda out. I forget that guy's name, the Tybo guy. But, get someone out that's funny that they are like going to just die laughing the whole time. And then you get out there, sometimes us coaches have to bring the energy when we don't have it. But it's kind of fun because if you fake it, you'll make it. Because what ends up happening is if you're like, okay, watch me. And maybe you came in, you like knew it was going to be Jane Fonda day and you dressed for the place, or you knew it was going to be Tybo day and Billy Banks and you dressed up with Billy Banks, or maybe you got Gene Simmons and you're sweating to the oldies and you got your like wristbands on and your thing on, your pants way high, like make it fun. And like and get out there and start making a fool of yourself and you will start laughing at yourself And then they will have no choice but to laugh. But you're like, no, no, I'm not just joking. You guys are joining in. Let's go. Come on. And it's like this, or we can go do the old stuff that's boring and going to be hard. And like, no. And so what's happening is you're moving the body, you're pushing out the neurochemicals, and you're helping create a sense of safety and closure of cycle. And then, okay, now we're done. Now we're going to do warm up and or we're going to do stretch or whatever you're going to do next, right? And then it's like, okay, today I want, I'm going to just call out random names and you're going to lead what we're doing next for stretch. And I don't know, maybe we don't normally do a dynamic warm up, but we're going to do some dynamic warm up stuff. We're going to try something different and have fun with it. And don't get hyper focused. This is not the time and season to get hyper focused on their toes are pointed and their knee is straight and whatever. Like just move them right now. And it's mainly because you need them to just settle down. And the more judgment and criticism and like, are your toes pointed? Are your knees straight? Like it's going to make things worse. It's just going to keep their alarm system elevated, right? Um, and then maybe we're like, okay, you know what? Today's just going to be, instead of doing, everybody's so crazy, right, on their alarm system, instead of doing full crazy tumbling, we're going to do floor basics today. Floor basics. And then, oh, but that's so boring, Miss Brandy. Oh, don't worry. We got a game for you. You're going to pick cards, and each card has a basic attached to it. And then you're going to roll a dice to figure out how many you're going to do. Are you going to play Bop It, and the person who loses the Bop It in the group has to go do the assignment? And don't worry, they're all going to lose at some point, so they'll all make the assignment, right? And then they come back, they do their one pass, right? So you have a list of things. This was something I actually thought about recording or playing last week, but because actually I don't think it's on my YouTube, you guys. Um, and if y'all are interested in it, we can pull it in. But I had Coach Jackie Fain, who was my coach in college for beam and floor. And she also coached at Centenary University for a long while. She did amazing games. Coach Kulak also did some pretty good games, but Jackie had amazing fun beam games. And she took those games and that concept and created it for all four events because she was the head coach at Centenary. And there are all kinds of games. Like we had Beam Queen game where we had to pick cards, and if you picked the queen, I don't remember, I have to remember like something special happened, you had to do something special. We had, and what we were doing, like the goal of the games, right? Changed as season came. So at first it was like make a connection, like, or just go for it. And then eventually towards the end of season, it was like 0.25 or less. Then it was like must be hit, right? Because we were getting closer to competition season. At this point, there's no hitting, there's no 0.25 or less, there's none of that. No one cares. Right now, you just want them to move and have fun doing it. I have this little cool dice thingy. You can get it off of like Amazon or Temu. Hold on. Where? Now you can also do this with a block of foam, right? But this one has like a bunch of things on it. 15 tricep dips, 15 lunges, 15 squats. What does this say? Bicycle, 24 bicycles, 10 pike push-ups. So it's like, roll the dice and go for it. And you can make she also had board games and stuff they played. I remember we played that too. Where like you sometimes you work together as a team. And this is a great time to do that stuff. You have team A and team B, or you can do individuals. But like the A team, okay, don't say A team, B team. Team red, no, team pink and blue. I don't know, team teal and whatever. But like, don't make it so that it's like they're against each other. Like one is better than the other. A and B always insinuates that it's one is better than the other. Group one and group two always insinuates group one is better. So like, you got to work on your names. The wolves and the coyotes, the foxes and the whatever, and they can make their team name up. That's fine. That's fun too. So what you're trying to promote right now is get them out of their heads and get them in their hearts and be little kids. Bring back the 5 and 7-year-olds in your gym right now because they haven't been allowed to play. I want you to think about that for a second. They haven't been allowed to play. And no one does well with like no playing. This is part of the reason why adults have a hard time. Like, so I spend time with my 7-year-old every once in a while. Like, I used to spend a lot of time with her, but now I'm like, oh, she's screaming. I took my 7-year-old self, me, my 7-year-old self, grocery shopping. I came home with ice cream and chocolate and like gluten-free things that are like not normally in my whatever. And I was like, okay, 7-year-old self, let's go. What do you want to do? Watercolor. Great. Let's do it. I got a bunch of watercolor on my dining room table right now. Because during my sickness, when I got sick, I was like, 7-year-old self me is bored as heck. What does she need to do? I'm a watercolor because I can't do anything else right now. I'm exhausted. And I enjoyed it, right? And you get refreshed and rejuvenated. So, number one, I challenge coaches to do this. What does 7-year-old, 5-year-old you need that you didn't get this season because you've been traveling every weekend? Right? Like, what fills your cup? Find some time. Take 7-year-old you for a date. Go on a play date. Like, sometimes don't tell my daughter and don't tell anyone. I know this is like recorded, but like I sometimes ride my bike because I grew up in the era of no helmets, right? Since I've been riding, like we had helmets, right? Like I used to ride triathlons and like big stuff, right? And we always wore a helmet. And of course, when I had my daughter, never don't ride my bike without a helmet. Always have a helmet. But a couple times I've gone and just rode my bike in my neighborhood on the sidewalks safely, right? No helmet. Why? Because little old me back then in my third, fourth, and fifth grade years didn't have a helmet back then. It was before helmets were a thing. So it was something that was fun. It feels free. It's freeing. So how can we give ourselves, because you guys got to fill your cup too. Part of our frustration when we like Rianne, when you see them and you're like, man, they're not getting off the floor. Part of the frustration is like, I'm expected to get them off the floor. There's people in the waiting room, my owner. I'm expected to get these kids off the floor and they don't want to get off the floor. I don't want to get off the floor. I want to lay down next to them. So can we honor that, right? And it's because their little kids inside them haven't gotten to play. So how can we do movements? So one thing you can do like assignments and every single one, like another one, I think Carla's done it before, the color by numbers or like the sticker where you put stickers up and it makes like a picture. But the problem with that in like a single assignment is that you don't make a lot of headway, right? But if you could create one yourself, like you can get those sticker paper for your printer and you could print off like a fun phrase or your team picture or your logo or a picture of you that's being silly, like like whatever, like I told you so, or like whatever the picture is, it's just silly. And you could print it on the sticker page and then create your own puzzle pieces out of it. And let's say you have a 45-minute rotation, you're probably not going to get more than, depends on the assignment, 6 to 10 puzzle pieces in there, you know? And so they get to, every time they finish a puzzle, whatever, every time they get to finish their assignment, or they rolled their dice and they did the whatever, then they get to put a puzzle piece up, right? They rolled the dice and they move the Candyland. You get old games, like get the silly stuff. They move the Candyland guy forward. Oh, now they got to go back to the, because they hit the thing with the licorice guy or the gumdrops, right? You have to go back on the thing. So find creative ways to bring out your 5 and 7-year-olds and your kids. Let them play and move and work without realizing they're working, right? An example, okay, just for fun. Mat pushes is a great thing. When the alarm system gets heightened, often we need to push something or kick something, right? And that's a way of releasing the nervous system energy. So you can do that with mat pushes. But how do we make mat pushes fun? Because at this point, the girl's like, I don't want to push a mat down the vault runway or on the floor. Like, I'm tired. Okay, well, what if you had each block, I'm just making this up on the fly. Brianne, tell me what you think. But what if each block was a boat and you put some kind of sticker or something on it that shows that it's a boat, right? And it's like a blue boat, a red boat, a yellow boat, green boat, whatever. And they're all going to race each other on the floor. And the teammate is the captain, and they have to wear a captain's hat. Okay. And you just go get those cheap, like, paper hats. And they have a noodle because they're going to be like charging and they're holding out the thing and they're going to go get like the shark or the whatever is on the other side. And maybe one of the other teammates has to wear a hat or a sticker or a shirt or something that shows that they're the object that has to be gotten. Maybe it's a fair maiden that they're rescuing. Maybe it's a shark that they're killing. I don't know. Pick something. And, are all lined up and go on your mark, get set, go. And they go down and they have to go try to get with their pool noodle the shark or the fair maiden. They're gonna, beat the dragon and like create a story about it, be silly. And then they can all laugh at each other because they have hats on and they have noodles on and they're being a push. Like, how can you make things fun? What do you think, Brianne, about that one?
That might be fun if you can get them past the whole insecure teenager thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's one piece, is getting them past that. One part of that might be like just the idea that we're all doing it. Like, we're all just gonna do it. Like, what do you find works for you to get the teenagers out of their head? Maybe Carla, Megan, anyone who has something. Does anyone have something that they've found, an activity that gets their teenagers out of their self-judgment head? Oh dear. Anything?
No, I'm struggling with that.
Still struggling with that. Okay, got it.
I'm also struggling with, I mean, understand all this, but I've actually had like parents, especially going through like these 11, 12, 13-year-old stages, um, that like believe that they really should be like when they're 6 and 7. Well, they're not excited about going to gymnastics anymore, or they're not, you know, that kind of thing. So I had that conversation, I guess. And she's like, well, if she doesn't start showing, like some gratitude and some whatever, by the end of the summer, I'm just going to take her out, even if she doesn't want to come out, even if she doesn't want to quit. And so I'm dealing with parents that aren't quite understanding the process of sometimes something is better than nothing, and you have to ride these waves, and it's worthwhile to go through the hard, but they don't accept it. So when their kid goes through hard and is like, oh, or like right now, they're all burnt out and whatever else. So it's a great time for them to quit. And so parents go, okay, because they don't have to pay the money, or, I'm not going to spend my money for you not to,
Do something.
enjoy it, or to work hard at it. So they see you playing these games, or they see you kind of relaxing. So then that puts a lot of pressure, when in reality, we know that that's what they really need to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. So I pose it back to the parents in that, have you ever been burned out? You ever just needed a vacation and took a vacation? Right? Like, parents naturally do this. Adults do this. They take vacations. They have out, they tune out. They find ways to tune out. They watch a bunch of TV. They make a big deal over the Super Bowl or their college football, whatever, because they're escaping, right? Like, there's a lot of people who never played any sports and they have every paraphernalia known to man for some college or professional team. Why? It's an escape. It's helping their 5 and 6 and 7-year-old self feel good. Their kids are just the same. They need a break. They need a vacation. And they still need to move their body, and they don't have the money or the time or the bandwidth or the ability to take themselves on vacation because they're kids. So they come to gym and get a little bit of a mental vacation. Humans, and this is the flaw in society right now based on outcomes. All jobs are based on outcomes practically now, right? And that's the thing you're fighting with the parents. They're like, well, the bills keep coming and I still have to do this and this thing still has to happen. Yeah, but we as humans are cyclical. Women have a 28-day cycle. Then we also have a year cycle. Men also have a year cycle and they also have a cycle, but it's not 28 days, right? The world has a cycle. You know, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, everything is constantly in motion. But no season lasts forever. Example, the plants flower in spring. Not all of them, but let's just use those. The plants flower in spring. Do those same plants flower in winter? No. Why? Because they expended all their energy into those beautiful flowers. And then they need the rest of the seasons of summer into fall and winter to recuperate so they can flower again in spring. It's all through nature. Bears hibernate. Lizards, they slow down their heart rate in cold weather. Like birds migrate. It's because all around us, except humans, seem to understand that we cannot stay at our heightened state forever or for even extended periods. I think the key is educating everyone, parents, coaches, kids. You've been in a heightened state. It's a recovery time. We're going to recover our well-being of mental, emotional, and physical during this time so that you're ready to come back up for upgrades in the next season. So you're going to have this high period followed by recovery, and it's going to be a deep recovery for a few weeks. If you look at any periodization research, it's 2 weeks in reality. And then you come up with strength training. And so you can Google William Sands and his research on training periodization. I want him to come in. I haven't called him. I've been lazy. I need to call him. I'm going to have him come in for one of these because you have to come down to allow for rest, recovery, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You have to recuperate. The 5 and 7-year-old self, all of the world of psychology tells us this. We're all running on 7-year-old selves. Everyone. Your main belief structures are built by 7, and you run on all those belief structures. 7-year-old self is doing taxes. 7-year-old self is going to the grocery store. If 7-year-old self's needs are not met at all, ever, burnout is what happens. And look at the world around us. All of the neurological conditions that everyone has, all the chronic conditions, chronic mental health issues, chronic emotional instabilities, chronic pain. You go down the list of the slew of labels that everybody have put on everything. It all boils down to nervous system burnout. So I think the key is educating the parents, very simply saying a flower that flowers in spring does not flower in winter. Why? Because it requires all that nurturing and nutrients and water and fertilization and all the things that happen from the fall leaves decomposing. Like it all fits to each other so that it can do it again in spring. Well, your child's competition season's in spring, the end of winter into spring, right? They need the next year to get there. And the first part, what happens to a flower when you watch it? It blooms and it goes so beautiful. My mom loved tulips, and so purple tulips in particular. And her birthday was in March, and God always sends me purple tulips. They just show up. And so purple tulips showed up for her birthday. And they were just about to bud. And I was like, perfect, they'll bloom on her birthday, right? Because tulips, if anybody's had any, they don't last. They don't last long at all. They bloom and then and they fall one off of the other, and then the stem starts to wither, and then the leaves start to drop, and all of a sudden there's really nothing left. So underneath all of that, though, the bulb is still getting nutrients. You still keep taking care of them. You water them, you fertilize them, you keep giving them food for the year. Like, you still keep taking care of them. They even can lay dormant for a while as well, where you don't do anything to them. And they're just nurturing themselves. So the point is that this period is when your kids' leaves are falling off. It's part of the cycle. Let the leaves fall, honor it, give space. And so I think the key really, Carla, is to explain to them that. And so there's a microcycle, which is this whole, we've got gymnastics, we've got testing, we've got end of school, like all of this stuff happening. That's the microcycle. The macro cycle you're talking about is the phase of dying off of the innocent child that then's going into pre-adolescence, that then's going into this huge, complete overhauling of their nervous system and hormone system. They become a completely different human being when they hit young, when they've hit puberty. And it's supposed to happen. And then women on the other side of that are premenopausal, they're going through it again. It's the second death. Like neuroscience is actually talking about it. It's the second death. So premenopause and menopause is the second death of nervous system and transitioning from the life that you once had to this new life and a new body and a new nervous system and a new like hormone system. It's all new. And boys go through it too, but their cycles later, right? And so the point is that we're all in this cycle system. And for the parents to recognize that when there's a death of something, there's grief. When what I had before was really nice friends, we were all pretty regulated and running around and being silly. I could act out and be whoever I wanted to be, and I didn't feel judged or looked at. There was no huge social hierarchy. I was this innocent child having a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, as I shift into my hormones, I start to recognize that I'm different. I am something separate from someone else. And as a parent, it's so hard to watch. It's so sad to watch the separateness come in. It's really hard but it's normal. It's a part of it's part of their journey to recognize that they're separate from others, which means there's judgment and there's hierarchy and there's a social system and there's a way things are supposed to be in order to be okay and to be liked. And in this process, you've got these hormones rushing their body every 28 days and they're cycling through, they're changing through the 28 days. Can you imagine if you were just used to being here in your hormones and then all this sudden this one comes in and then that one comes in and then this one comes in and then all of a sudden you've got 7 months of like, what? I thought I caught up. Oh God, like their body's in change. Their brain, their nervous system, their wiring of their brain is in change. There's this new study about women when they first have a child and how when the baby comes out, there's a complete instant rewiring for hypervigilance and their nervous system completely changes. They actually have studies showing the changes in the white matter and changes in the neural connections in a mother's brain. And I say this because there's changes happening in this period of tween to teen. And it's a massive shift. And there's a death and a dying off of what you knew before existed and was stable to something that is unknown. And no human brain does good with that. So they're tired. They're tired from the roller coaster that's happening inside their body. They don't know if they should be happy or not to go to gym because not everyone's going to gym. And what was happy and fun before doesn't feel happy and fun right now because they don't know their body. What was there before, like literally the physical body changes so different, right? That the actual things of knowing where their body is actually was something that they counted on. And when they on a handstand, they knew exactly where their feet were, exactly where their knees were, exactly where their hips were and their rib cage. Now all of a sudden they have extra boobs. Now all of a sudden they're 2 inches, 3 inches longer. And all of a sudden the body's shifting. And it's like, well, how do I balance out that? How do I get my butt over my rib cage when my boobs are now here? Or like, and it's just this whole, we have to be really for real about these teenage shifts, in that it is a huge macro cycle shift in a very, when you look at the length of a human life, most people are living in their 70s and 80s now. And this transition, right, from 12 to about 14 and sometimes into 16, depending on how long it takes, it's a large chunk. I mean, it's like, it's a small kind of glimpse in the general, but if you look at other shifts and things that are happening, same thing with menopause, takes years, some people up to 10 years for the whole transition to happen. And it's like, it's abrupt, it's disorienting to the brain and the nervous system. It's disorienting because your center of mass is off, like literally everything you know before is gone. And if you can relate it to like when you've lost someone, like a mother or a parent, right? That you counted on. You could call them. You could call them every day. And you could talk to them and you had a relationship. You could depend on them. They were there. They were doing their job and you would do your thing and you would react. And you knew when you called them, they would say, like my grandmother, I've been praying for the weather there. How's the weather? Oh, good. I'm so glad. It would be the same statement beginning of a conversation before we got into anything else. Had to talk about the weather and how safe I was. And it was really her way of saying, are you safe? I want to make sure you're safe. But it was just a conversation that she had for like the last, I mean, since I can remember. It was in college probably, right? In college is when I remember her starting calling, asking me about how the weather was with me. So when you have something that's consistent and dependable and you expect it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. My grandmother passed last year in October. You go to pick up the phone. How do you feel when there's no one to call? And there's no one to ask the same questions that you expect asked? It's sad. It's grief. So part of what we have to recognize and tell parents is that this teenage year, there's grief happening. There's grief as a coach watching them because the things that worked before are not working. There's grief as a parent because the things that you parented before are not working. And where's that little innocent little girl that wants to come and hug you and love you and lay on top of you and do all the things? Now they're like, oh, don't walk in, shut the door, I need privacy, all these things, right? Why? Because everything's new and they're scared. They're scared, rightfully so, because it's new. So on the macro cycle picture, reminding parents that this is a hard transition for everyone. Now add social media and Instagram and all the AI of how perfect you're supposed to look and what it's supposed to be like and all these other stuff and what you're supposed to like, being constantly inundated with what you're supposed to like, the latest trend. And then trying to keep up with the latest trend that the 6'7" lasted for a while, but boy, by January it was gone. So if you had 6'7" socks from Christmas, you don't want to wear them. My daughter's dad gave her 6'7" socks for Christmas. By January, she was like, Mom, 6'7" was so last year. I'm like, well, okay. So she's never worn the socks because it was a judgmental thing, right? But they're constantly trying to keep up with that. So it's a lot harder to be a teenager now than it was before all the social media and all the marketing and all the research that's been done on brains. Because in reality, all this neuroscience stuff I'm telling you, every marketing person and companies that have millions and billions of dollars know to the T exactly how you'll respond in your brain and how they can hook it and keep it in their pocket so you can keep making the money. So it's a lot to fight. And I say that because I think parents I think it would be better if we could all kind of take a step back and recognize that this is a really hard time for them, and making dramatic changes, unless there's really a dramatic reason to, might not be what's best for their mental and emotional well-being. And going by the child who's and again, you want to create autonomy. Like this is a case by case scenario, right? But when you have a kid that's showing up and they're struggling, it's possible, and they're in this tween teen years, it's possible that their mental and emotional health is struggling because of all the rushing and all the social judgment and stuff that's happening there. And that gymnastics might be one of the places that's keeping them mentally stable so that they're not cracking, because it's a place where they know what to expect. And as a coach, you want to make sure you create expectations so that you stay on some kind of structure and that you're a place where they expect to be supported and they expect to be loved no matter what, where they expect to have a certain amount of work required, and they expect that if something isn't done, that like everything's consistent. If this doesn't happen, then this is the consequence, right? Like it's like it just needs to be clear for them. And gymnastics is a great place for that to be, because it's like we were there before the transition, we're still here in the transition, and we'll be here when you make it on the other side. And we'll consistently still love you and consistently walk through this. And this is a safe space to have fun and to keep having fun. So like taking the seriousness off of it, making jokes about the like recent trend, create games. Create the games around 6, 7 won't work now, but like create the games in your gym around some of the social trends that are happening. Like the ones that you can, use. Like 6, 7's a great one. What if we just did all of our conditioning was 6, 7, right? And you might have to do 67 activities in order to get 6 to 7. Like you can pick 6 or 7. Do you want to do 6, 7? Like that would be a joke I would have probably done then. Now they probably would laugh at you and go 6, 7 is so yesterday. But like find those kind of trends that you can create your assignments around, create games around it, make fun of it. Be the non-cool, like my daughter was like, my mom is so not cool. Like she's like, Mom, you don't do it right. And I'm like, well, then show me, like, so feed into the fact that, oh, they think that we don't, whatever. Make it more funny, like make it funnier that like I'm this, old person that doesn't supposedly know the trends or whatever. So I say that because you got to bring the joy back in. And I get that it's a tough crowd, but bring the joy back in. Get them involved, like, and just start using some of the things that they like. So I hope that helps. Does that help, Carla, at all with how to talk with some of those parents?
Yes, it's a good start. It's just trying to let, I mean, place
Uh,
some place the pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like, and don't allow them to make mistakes or don't allow them to
I just throw
assume
back
that
at
if they're not succeeding, then they're not giving effort or they're not grateful. And like I'm like the teenage stage, they ain't gonna be grateful. Then I mean, you can try, but they're not just gonna be like overly
You're
well.
telling me about gratitude in the teenage stage. I just had a rude awakening to that this last weekend. I had no idea. I had no idea. Like, and I didn't expect it, right? So I think probably definitely like new parents who are getting their tween for the first time and they don't get gratitude back for things that they used to get gratitude back. Um, it how do I say this? It would be shocking, right? But it is an understanding, like if you go back to the neurochemicals, it's like they are getting rushed. They're getting rushed with all these hormones and neurochemicals, and developmentally, they're wanting independence. So when they don't get the independence or they don't get what they want, then they kind of fight back at it. And that rush of neurochemicals that's coming, it makes it hard. So if you think about when have I been really stressed? When have I had a lot of unknowns happening? Think about the grief. Like think of a death that you've had and the grief you've experienced and go, how good was I then finding gratitude? Like, how good was I then going, yeah, it's okay that this major loss has happened. Um, I'm just grateful that whatever. Like, most of the times, not. Like, if you think about really major shifts where you didn't know what was going to happen on the other side, and there was a loss of something that was so wonderful before, right? No, you can't find gratitude, right? So, maybe a piece of that is just explaining that to parents, like just, simply, I mean, maybe we should make a handout, a teen handout, a teenage handout. Because it is challenging, Carla, I get it. But I
Well,
do
it's
think
just the fact that they have money involved and they just basically do, like, I'm paying money, and they kind of throw it at, if you're not happy or if you're not giving full effort, if you're not succeeding, if you're not, I mean, so they just lay a whole nother
layer.
layer of pressure that know that it's not going to be fun. And as a coach, sometimes, trying to counterbalance that is hard.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think having a real conversation with the parents, like, I get what you're saying about money and all these other things, but what's the end game goal? And if the end game goal is that your kid becomes an amazing human, right? Like the end game goal is that your kid learns self-discipline, your kid learns to work through hard times, right? Your kid learns to not give up. Your kid learns to keep trying. Your kid learns to emotionally regulate and mentally boost themselves when they're down, right? Because they are down with this whole chemical stuff, but they're getting through it, right? Um, then at the end of the day, isn't that what you're wanting? Like, but they have to go through the ride in order to get there. Um, and we're a safe place at the gym to do that. And there's a ton of research to show that movement and gymnastics and flipping and all of these things, conditioning, all of those things are really pivotal to the mind body connection, really pivotal to mental and emotional well being. And it's just a part of the process, back to the cycle. No one's happy all the time. No one's angry all the time. No one's productive all the time. It's called burnout if you do that. And bring it back to stuff that they do. Like, have you ever had a period where you didn't want to do something and you just had to keep doing it? And you did. And then when you got to the other side, were you grateful that you stayed? Did you end up getting what you wanted? You know, how many projects are really hard in the business world and you don't want to do it? You're tired. You don't want to put in the extra hours. You don't want to whatever. And you keep going because you have bills to pay. And then you get the project done. And then you felt a lot better and you didn't quit that job. You stayed on, did other things. I mean, just getting parents to see in their own world how they've done this and how it's really wonderful that they can use gymnastics to instill that in their child. You're teaching your child this early. That's what sports helps us with, you know? Hopefully that helps. Does that help, Carla, a little bit? I think you just have to keep bringing it back. And then you got to find the story that talks to them. If it's a business person, talk business. If it's someone, and again, I like the flower analogy because everyone understands that. Like, we can't just stay productive all the time. It's actually detrimental to your child's well being. But that doesn't mean do nothing, because do nothing is detrimental. Have fun while you are moving and make it exciting. So, is that helpful, Carla?
Yes.
Okay, well, I hope so. All right, well, this was a good topic, because teens and tweens are challenging, and this is a challenging time in the year, in the macro cycle of the year. This is a challenging time because everybody's burning out, and so I think the take home today is to make gymnastics fun, make conditioning fun, create fun games, get creative, and then take off the pressure. This is really the time to turn down the volume, turn down the fire. We're not worried about pointed toes. We're not worried about straight legs or bent knees. We just want to move our body and get reset. This is a reset period. And if the kids are burning out at school right now because everything's coming at them 1,000 miles a minute, that's a great time to just take it back and let them know though bring awareness to the kids and the parents. Bring awareness to them that like, because what you're teaching the kid is that, hey, when one part of my life is really hard and working, how can I have fun somewhere else so that I can balance myself out? You're teaching life skills, and that's awesome. And you might have to teach the parents too, because it's like, hey, man, no one likes the micromanaging boss that's like managing every single aspect of your project and telling you every single thing you're doing wrong. Well, we went through that season and it's done. And now we need to have a period of fun so that your kid refreshes, rejuvenates, refills, recovers, right? And this, I promise, will help build higher skills over the summer. And this will, and it's, the research shows, throw that out there, called training periodization. Go look it up. Any AI will give you a bunch of information about training periodization and a 1 to 2 week period after, so throw some research out there. If you're concerned your gym and your parents are going to freak out, go do AI, look at William Sands and training periodization for gymnastics, or just look up training periodization period for a competitive sport period, and it'll come up and it'll show you a 1 to 2 week window of downtime where you're recovering and having fun and being active and conditioning and doing things, but you're having fun and it doesn't look like your sport. Send an email, put it on your blog, put it on your band app or whatever app you communicate with your people, and just say, I just want to let you guys know we're following this stuff because we're going to have a lot of fun the next 2 weeks. We have a bunch of cool things and activities and conditioning, and we're going to keep making progress towards gymnastics. We're going to follow up on our basics, and we're going to do a bunch of fun games, but we're going to make it fun. Your kids may, each day is a dress up day. Like, it doesn't matter. Make it fun. And just tell them your plan, how you're going to make it fun, and then say this is why, and quote the study, quote it, check out this link if you want to go there, and then don't question me because we're doing something that's well and been well published for, like, we're looking in the 90s. Like, this is not new. So it's their problem if they haven't figured out that this is how life is supposed to be. But when you go on the wedding, you have a honeymoon. Why? Because the wedding is so hard to plan. This is our honeymoon period. Like, there are so many ways you could talk about it. you know? So, but send out a thing, tell people. I have one of the gyms I work with through my Invincible Athlete program. They do an amazing job of just across the board telling their families what's coming. And they don't have, I mean, they're going to have the parent here or there, but they don't have a ton of parents coming in constantly about this problem or that problem and trying to change the training way. Because they're very open about the goal setting and what the goals look like. And they're very open about what nutrition they're working on. And they're very open about, and they just tell them all. And so my experience working with other gyms is that you really have to create. Now that takes effort and repetition. Like, you have to create a dialogue. And she has a director that creates the dialogue. And they keep the dialogue going. And when they take one of these classes like this, we just took a class this week about blah, blah, blah. When we did a sleep thing, they did a whole thing about sleep. When we did a nutrition thing, they did a whole thing about nutrition and they taught it. So, so just, educating the parents and just letting them know what's coming and making it really, in their face so that they know that this is all for the better and that there's a good reason behind it. So thank you guys so much for joining. Next week we'll have another open Q&A, and we'll go from there, and we'll do just an hour. I didn't know we were going to talk this long, but teenagers, it's a challenge. So I hear you, Carla. I feel you. I feel you. Thank you guys so much for joining. Be sure to register for next week, and we'll see you guys next week for another open Q&A. We can talk about whatever you guys like.